Breaking is based on a true story of a former Marine that tried to rob a bank. It follows the real-life events accurately, but in a mind-numbingly boring way. It exemplifies the terms snail's pace and Oscar bait. Every scene is overly emotional and dramatic, with little to no actual story. The visuals are bland, and the soundtrack is non-existent. They use one type of song, and it's to build tension, and it's used sparingly and quietly. There are no vibrant colors, no interesting camera shots, nothing to make this film interesting. The film follows Brian as he walks into a bank and tells the bank teller he has a bomb. He lets the customers of the bank leave and only takes 2 employees as a hostage. He then proceeds to call the police and the news. He tells them that the VA is withholding his check and he wants his money and to tell his story. He's a soldier that feels he was screwed by the VA. The rest of the film is Brian talking to the police and to his hostages about his story, running through the same conversation over and over until it abruptly ends. The writing is subpar and it shows early into the film. It doesn't set itself up, instead, it just throws you headfirst into a confusing mess. Everything is tense, but after the initial note-passing scene, nothing actually happens, for at least 30 minutes. After that, we're bombarded by a lot of Oscar bait performances. Boyega and Williams both passionately emote directly into the camera, telling the tragic story of a Marine who feels shafted by the system, driving home the idea that Brian is a sympathetic character, but never making any clear progress on the plot. The problem is that there's no tension, because Brian never seems like a killer, and Bernard always seems sympathetic and like he wants to help him. There is no mystery to be found either. All the details that lead to the bank holdup are already laid out at the beginning. We never really get to know Brian, or any of the other characters. No one is given a good characterization. It feels lifeless, and more like a historical retelling than a movie. Then, blam! It's over. We go from an hour of talking to a split second of action and 3 minutes of conclusion. Very little ends up being explained, and we aren't given any kind of closure. No moral lesson to walk away with, just a bad feeling in your chest. I don't recommend films like this ever. Art is supposed to have a message for its audience, and making people feel bad without giving them some action or message to take forward is just mean and pointless. The visuals are bland, but professionally done. The soundtrack doesn't exist, and the acting is really good. It's just too bad that the story is boring and disheartening. 4 out of 10.